Hey lads, race 7's about to jump.
What are we thinking?
A guy in the Ladbrokes app just shared his bet, and it's a roughie.
Do we trust him?
Well, 40 people have copied his bet, and his name is Peter Moody.
Say no more.
Jump into Ladbrokes Mates Mode, where you can get insights from racing experts and chat and share bets with like-minded punters. T's and C's apply and available on website. You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
And now, as advertised, Steve Summers here. Steve Summers here, and you there.
Schmoozing for a few minutes.
In the schmooze room.
There's only one thing I want to say before I get into the monologue, and that is this. It is good to be king. Welcome to a brand new podcast, Schmoozing Some Sports. A podcast with Steve Summers here and you there, and Paulie Rosenberg on the other side of the glass, the producer, director, key grip, choreographer, and makeup man. And this, a podcast promising to be as much iconic as ironic. And let's talk for a second or two, or maybe a few minutes or more, on the Yankees and the New York Metropolitans. Who doesn't know? And you know your history, you know you do. We all know World War II. They had two well-known torpedo boats, the PT-109 with JFK at the helm, and PT-617, also known as the Dragon Lady. The Yankees are developing the 2025 torpedo bombers, coming into you like a, how you say, bat out of hell. The Yankees fired 3 torpedoes at the Sausages over the weekend, sinking their entire crew, drowning in their own beer. And NASA in Houston fired 3 rockets at the Metropolitans, and 2 of them hit their mark and hit you right in the heart. It was, of course, with the Yankees and the Mets from opening day and beyond to opening day weekend. It was the story, of course, what the Yankees did and what the Metropolitans couldn't do. And what was that? You know as well as everybody alive, it was scoring runs. 5 runs in 3 games. What a disaster. Judge had more RBIs in 1 game than the Metropolitans had in 3 games. Lindor, 0 for 11. Alonso, 1 for 9. I don't need to go on. Now, Soto, he did get some hits, but he had a chance to be the hero opening day in the 9th inning, but instead, Soto had you thinking he's now a Met. Let's not forget. You can't put out a forest fire with a squirt gun, as the Metropolitans are going to have to find something else. And you could say, by a little bit using the imagination, that the most uplifting plate appearance in the 3 games for the Metropolitans was Acuña's 12-pitch at bat against Hader, after the count was 0-2, drawing that base on balls. And yes, Acuña made an error costing a run, but that plate appearance, absolutely awesome. And yeah, Soto, he homered over the weekend, but he homered when it was already 2-0, and we saw him stranded at second base Saturday with the Metropolitans basically stranded in the dugout. They could make their way to the on-deck circle, they could make their way to the batter's box, and then right back to the dugout. This was a common practice. You might have been reminded of Easter Sunday because the Metropolitans, on 2 of these 3 games, laid a $325 million egg. And yeah, we all know the price of eggs, very expensive, but none as expensive as the Mets payroll and a leg they would lay on 2 of the 3 games in Texas against the Astros. And if you want to make an argument that Jose Siri had a better time in Texas than anybody else you can name, since we saw him reach first on a free pass, and then we saw him steal second, then we saw him move to third on a flyout, tagging up, and yes, scoring a run on that Soto dribbler that had Siri breaking for home on contact and scoring a run for the New York Mets. Yes, they actually, on this particular instance, on this particular sequence, scored a run. But 5 in 3 games, just unacceptable. And don't forget that 2 of those runs of the 5 came on outs. Clay Holmes, now he was good enough to make you think he won't be coming out of the bullpen anytime soon. And check that radar gun on McGill. And Canning, he was good. Canning can. But the issue has been and will continue to be the bullpen until proven otherwise, good enough for holding, setting up, and closing games with a Diaz who did a 1-2-3 ninth on Saturday. And even with Buto and Kranick scaring you Halloween style, and you're not going to forget Garrett on Friday, getting out of a bases-loaded 1-out situation. So right now, no real problem with the bullpen. The starting has been better than you might have expected. It has been the defense. It's been okay. But the offense, it's been very, very, very offensive. And did you know about Starling Marte? Did you know he's the active leader in all of baseball with 354 stolen bases? So that means he's now only 1,052 behind the late Ricky Henderson. And for Austin Wells, leading off opening day like a Henderson would have, the catcher, Austin Wells, who caught history, leading off the 2025 season. And now only 80 leadoff homers behind the aforementioned Henderson. And so is Paul Goldschmidt. Wells doing something that Bill Dickey, Yogi Berra, Thurman Munson, Elston Howard, and Jorge Posada never did, nor anyone else you can think of did on opening day on the road. The first of 15 homers the Yankees would hit against the Brew Crew in those 3 games, with Judge and Chisholm hitting most of them, and yet with 16 runs given to Fried on Saturday, he couldn't get the win. And note that the only person who could retire Judge on Saturday was Jake Bowers, a position player who ended up closing out 2 of the 3 losses for the Brew Crew. The New York Yankees right now look as though they might be able to clinch the division by the end of April. And who's April fooling? If Fried didn't look as good as his contract, he's not to blame for players not wearing their gloves, since 4 of the 6 he allowed unearned, including his own throwing error. So we look forward to this week ahead with the Mets and the Yankees. And by the way, it should be noted that Rodon, he was good enough. Stroman, he'll look good if you get him more than enough runs. And, of course, no stress for the bullpen, able to finish what Yankee fans hope to see with games on the line. When you score with the Yankees scoring the way they did against Milwaukee, you don't worry about the stress that the bullpen may have to go through with a game on the line. That is pretty clear. And the Mets, are thinking, because of their very thin rotation, that you can't get Manaea back soon enough, you can't get Montas back soon enough, And a Blackburn now singing in the dead of night. You can't get him back soon enough. And now, Monday, in Miami, it's with David Peterson. So we look forward to this week ahead. The Yankees, they'll continue or try to continue to torpedo the opposition, and the Metropolitans will hope to catch some fish, but better not use a bamboo pole and chewing gum as bait. That didn't work in Houston, and better to forget using bats made out of straw and hay. The Yankees, but not Judge, they were using torpedo bats. 5 Yankees, and I bet you it'll be more than that, probably this week coming up. And bats that you now know that redistribute some of the mass, some of the bulk from the barrel right to closer to the label. 13 homers for the Yankees in a 15-inning span from Saturday. Absolutely unbelievable. Tuesday with no Luis Gonzalez from 2001. It's the Yankees and Arizona all over again. You want to remember but soon forget 2001 Game 7, Gonzalez off Mariano Rivera, winning it for the Snakes over the Yankees in that World Series. And now on this brand new podcast, let's bring in the director and producer and key grip and choreographer and makeup man, the guy from the other side of the glass, Paulie Rosenberg. Paulie, thanks for being a part of this program.
Steve, can I just say how much of an honor this is to be doing a podcast?
You're lying.
With the living legend,
no,
Mr. Steve Summers.
Well, living, yes. Legend, not really. I wish I thought that way about myself, but I really don't, because I know how many times in my lifetime that I failed at doing what I'm doing right now, although this a podcast for the first time, but with all the experience with radio and TV in my background, I know how humbling this business can be, and I also know how easy it is to make a fool out of yourself as well.
We've all done that from time to time, haven't we?
We have.
Let's get into a little bit more of the Yankees and the Mets.
Sure.
How much the overreactions opening weekend for any sport, right? Through the roof. Whether it's, the Mets lose one game, Soto strikes out to end game one, and they overpaid for Soto. And the Mets magic is gone. And they go 1-2 in Houston, and all Mets fans are kind of starting to freak out a little bit. What is your actual concern level with the Mets?
Well, it has always been and will continue to be, even though on their 3-1 win, the bullpen got in and out of trouble. Buto, as we were alluding to in the monologue, and Kranick, they had some moments that certainly had Metropolitan fans a little bit scared with what was happening and what could happen, but they got out of trouble. And so the bullpen is going to be, for me, an issue because we know how bullpens can be. And it's very, very important, of course, that Diaz stay healthy and continue to find home plate, or at least induce a lot of reaching out and swinging in pitches that are not close to home plate. Diaz looked good on game number 2 with the Mets winning, but for the most part, the bullpen concerns me. I think the Mets will end up scoring runs. Very surprised about the 5 runs in 3 games. And again, as you know, 2 of those runs came about on outs. So the Mets bats will wake up whether they use torpedo bats or not.
Right. So I'm glad that you're not concerned at all about the Met offense.
No.
Even if Lindor went hitless in 11 at-bats or whatever, listen, the Juan Soto is going to be an absolute star for this team. And I'm not breaking any news when I say that. The guy's electric. The guy's absolutely electric. I am not one of those Mets fans that are going to overreact to one bad 3-game set opening weekend in Houston when they're juiced up and everyone is ready to go. I am not going to be that type of fan, because there's two types of fans. There's the type of fan that's going to live and die with every single game and every single pitch for 162 games.
Sure.
The other type of fan is the fan that's just going to be like, you know what? I know what the expectation of this team is. I know where this team should get to. And once they get there, then I'm going to start paying attention. Then I will start really getting into it. Living and dying with every single 162-game peak and valley, that's a lot of, that puts a big, it's stressful for me. It's a big load on my shoulders, living and dying with every single pitch. And it doesn't make me a bad fan.
No.
But I'm just not going to worry myself, because we all know what this offense is probably going to be.
Yes.
And that is absolutely electric with Lindor and Soto and Alonso and Nimmo and on and on and on.
Yes, and no, I think scoring runs is not going to be an issue. The weekend in Houston notwithstanding, my concern again is the bullpen, that they live up to expectations of positivity, and we'll see about that. And Diaz has to stay healthy. There's no question about it. And again, you got to get Manaea back. You got to get Montas back. You got to get Blackburn back. And again, I know there are some minor leaguers that if there are, God forbid, any more Metropolitan starting injuries with the pitching, I know there are a couple of kids down on the farm that might make their major league debut with the Metropolitans this year if, again, God forbid, there's going to be any more injuries with the starters.
Right, and you mentioned it with the injuries. Both the Mets and the Yankees got dealt some bad luck when it came to injuries in spring training.
Oh, sure.
A lot of people focus on Garrett Cole obviously being out for the year and the 2 tennis elbows for Giancarlo Stanton. But Francisco Alvarez,
heel
obviously for the Yankees still, but Alvarez and
Yeah.
everyone you mentioned, and Manaea.
Yeah.
So both the Mets and the Yankees did get bit by the injury bug. If you're a Yankee fan, you have nothing to be concerned about after that opening set at home against the Brewers. Torpedoes or not, torpedo bats or not, the Yankees looked like the old school Bronx Bombers of old.
The Yankees, they showed you in 3 games, they don't miss Soto. The Metropolitans, they miss Soto, but not the Yankees.
No, and not the Yankees at all. And if one thing you were going to criticize the Yankees about, the 5
defense.
The 5 errors on Saturday,
Yeah.
and I know that'll get pushed under the rug a little bit because they scored 12 runs and all the home runs. And how about the weather on Saturday? The weather this weekend, by the way, and if
It was
you know,
close to 80,
it was close to 80 on Saturday. Then it was 50 on Sunday.
Yes.
And if you follow me on X and Twitter at Paul's Randomness, by the way,
Yes.
you know how much I love weather and love some other weird things like dog shows. But when it comes to the weather, it was a summer day on Saturday. The wind is blowing out, home run after home run after home run, and it continued on Sunday. And that's when the big torpedo bat started to really gain some steam, was after Saturday's game.
Yes, and I think that it's beginning to spread around Major League Baseball. These torpedo bats invented by a former Metropolitan employee who worked on the minor league level in 2022, a PhD, a MIT physicist who came up with the bulk of these bats closer to the label than the barrel. And because he felt that he would come up with this kind of bat because that's where he thought most major leaguers actually make contact with the area that is closer to the label more than the barrel. And so we have these torpedo bats. And 5 Yankees were to use them over the weekend, but not Aaron Judge.
Right, not Aaron Judge, because he doesn't need a torpedo bat.
No.
Because that guy is an absolute monster. One thing about the torpedo bat, Jazz Chisholm, who tweeted out today on X.
Okay.
And I'm going to read it directly here.
Yeah.
Okay, explanation, the barrel is bigger and within MLB regulation. for the idiots that say it's moved to the label, you're an idiot. Nobody is trying to get jammed. You just move the wood from the parts you don't use to the parts you do. You're welcome. No more stress for y'all. So he is very much in favor. And by the way, he's right. They're not cheating. This isn't a cheating situation.
No, right.
This bat is within the regulation. Legal. They are legal bats. I would think probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks, the majority of teams are going to be using these bats. And listen, maybe it'll get to the point where the torpedo bat becomes so great that then maybe baseball is going to curtail it a little bit more. But for right now, it's absolutely legal and good for the Yankees for actually embracing this as a team. Because there was, I believe, players around the league who have been using this before. Sure. But as a team, I think the Yankees are probably one of the first ones.
Yeah, well, it seems like it. And certainly the first ones to score the way they scored over the weekend against Milwaukee. Let's turn the page to two other New York teams, the New York Rangers and the New York Knickerbockers. And I'm not so sure it'll be a pleasant time, a good watch, if the Rangers do make the playoffs. They're in the hunt, that's for sure. They have not played well over the last couple of weeks, and yes, they did beat San Jose 6-1 the other game, but they have Montreal, they have Columbus, they have Detroit. There are a couple of other teams that could beat out the Rangers for that second wild card spot.
Yeah, I think the main team right now that they're worried about are the Canadians. Right now, if you go to one of the many analytical sites, I think the Rangers are like 36% to make the playoffs.
Okay.
If the playoffs started today, they would not make it. It would be the Canadians in that wild card 2 spot, and they would be facing the Capitals. But just for some reference, yesterday, I believe, or on Saturday, the Rangers were in the playoffs. So the Rangers have not played well the entire year. It's been an incredibly disappointing year. I think that goes without saying. I think Mika has not been good. Kreider, obviously, not been good. Adam Fox in offense, not been good. A lot of people really attacking the goalie for making all the money now.
Yeah.
I think that's absurd. The guy is going to be here for the next decade. It is crazy to put all of this on him when that offense is struggling as mightily as it has been the entire year.
Yeah, what we saw against San Jose, now they're not a good team at all, and they, 6-1, not like what we have seen over the last couple of weeks with the Rangers, but they were attacking. They were getting to the net. They were not hanging out in the neutral zone. They were staying, for the most part, out of the penalty box. They were winning some face-offs, and they looked like they were getting things together. But again, you have to qualify any positive comments because they were playing a god-awful team, a San Jose team that can't wait for the season to end. So even if the Rangers do make the playoffs, and yes, it's anything can happen, we know from the playoffs, with the hockey, a little bit different, of course, than the regular season. But they're not going to go very far, and I would not be surprised, one, if they do make the playoffs, getting out of the first round. I don't know if that will even happen if they do get themselves into the postseason.
Yeah, and I actually think either way, I would think the Rangers are going to be looking for a new coach. I don't know how long Laviolette's going to be around. Specifically, if they don't make the playoffs, I think that's like almost a guarantee. But even if they do, I don't know if you can go another year with the same leadership group. I can't see it because they really kept the core together at this point. Even though that report, the report earlier in the season, but they put Kreider on that trade text chain or whatever it was. Right. But I think that Laviolette will be gone after this season, no matter what the result is, which is unfortunate because the guy can coach. Laviolette can coach. It's just his message runs out very, very quickly.
And doesn't your heart break for the Icelanders? They've lost 5 in a row. They were not able to get themselves together to make some kind of a playoff push. They're not going to make it. And doesn't that break your heart?
The Icelanders.
Yes.
Nassau Coliseum.
The Mausoleum.
The Mausoleum. Old Country Road.
Well, sure. City and country. Broadway versus Old Country Road. And you have, Madison Square Garden versus the Mausoleum. Amber Waves of Grain versus concrete, the naked jungle that is Manhattan. No. And I think Icelander fans basically were Ranger fans who couldn't get tickets but loved the sport enough to go to the Mausoleum, head there. And that's really where they should be playing, no question about it. But, again, that's politics and sports not working out very well for the Icelander fan having to go someplace else other than a mausoleum, which was home to them.
And honestly, listen, the Devils are going to make the postseason in the Eastern Conference. Unfortunately for them, Jack Hughes out, Dougie Hamilton out. Yeah. All their big guys are out, and they're starting to struggle, which sucks because, honestly, the Devils have a very, very good hockey team. If everyone was healthy, they would have an excellent chance, I think, of going pretty far because they have a goalie now, the defense and everything. And now you have a lot of pressure on Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt, Timo Meier, and they have the brother of Jack Hughes, Luke Hughes, on the blue line. But they're going to make the playoffs. I just don't think they're going to go very far because all their main guys are hurt. So the one local hockey team that's definitely going to make the postseason might be one and done as well.
And speaking of hurt, Jalen Brunson of the New York Knickerbockers, he says he's feeling better and says he thinks he might be able to come back before the Knickerbockers are in the postseason.
What's your Knicks confidence level like when it comes to Brunson, when it comes to Karl Anthony Towns and Josh Hart and Tibbs and the defense? And what's your confidence level? Because they're obviously going to make the postseason. I want to know, what is a success for you? What is a failure for Steve Summers when it comes to the Knickerbockers?
Well, that's a good question. First of all, they're 7-5 after beating Portland without Brunson. And OG has been just so much better since PG. Brunson has been out. But the guy who really misses Brunson is Josh Hart, even though he had 14 points and 9 assists and 8 rebounds against the Trailblazers, not a very, very good team. But my expectations, if everybody was healthy, everybody, and Thibodeau was to use a little bit of his bench and give a few minutes off for his starters, if everybody was healthy and well rested, I'm not talking about load management, I'm just talking about at this stage of the season, there are aches and pains and legs that are getting a little bit heavy. I think the Knickerbockers would have a good chance of beating Boston.
A good chance, really?
Yeah.
I like that confidence. But it's just the issue with all Tom Thibodeau coach teams is the health, and is he running his big guys into the ground? Now, credit to Bridges and OG Anunoby, who've really stepped up. I don't know the trust level for those two players in a big moment. Like, what Jalen Brunson's going to be if he's healthy. You know what Karl Anthony Towns is going to be if he's healthy.
Yeah.
The health is the main factor. And like you said, will Thibodeau use the bench, or is he, when the playoffs start, just going to play 6 or 7 guys and that's it?
Yeah, Mitchell Robinson is getting himself in shape. He had a decent game against the Trailblazers the other night. But an OG who has been a better player, certainly offensively, since Brunson has been out, that may curtail somewhat when Brunson does come back. OG does not miss the PG, but he has been scoring a lot more offensively. He's attacking the basket, going to the rim, and OG has averaged about 30 points a game the last 4 games. And he's been hitting his shots and driving to the basket and getting fouled and hitting free throws. So he's played very, very well. And Hart is coming around, but Hart with those high pick and rolls and the screens and all the combo with him and Brunson, he misses Jalen, no question about it. But he is still productive. And Bridges, when he's on, he's going to score his points. Where the Knickerbockers are of a concern to me is perimeter defense. They need to guard the 3, and everybody takes so many of those. So they need to get out and contest shots and be very careful about not fouling beyond the arc, that's for sure.
Right, and I believe they're ranked 13th in defensive efficiency. They're giving up about 114 points per 100 possessions. You were talking about Mikal and OG Anunoby. They're both averaging about 23 points a game since Jalen Brunson has been hurt. So, again, they've picked up the slack. But that defense, which Thibodeau is known for, he is known for the defense. He is known for having dogs and dudes and damage, to steal a few words from Tommy Lugauer. He is known for that. So I would expect the team once Jalen gets back and everyone kind of falls into their roles again, to really get down on that lockdown type of defense again. Yeah,
and if you get the good health, if you get Jalen Brunson and Bridges and Towns and Hart and OG to play the way they can, I'm serious, and I know Boston is the team to beat. You could talk about Oklahoma. You could talk about Cleveland. I still think the best team, because they're so used to winning and know how to go about winning, especially in the postseason, of course, where it matters. I think the Knickerbockers would have put up at least a very good fight, if healthy, if everybody is well rested, and everybody is at the top of their game. I think they would give Boston a run for their money.
I think a run for their money is fair. I don't know if they just have the overall talent to beat Boston. Yeah. That's what I'd be concerned about. And if you don't beat Boston, and maybe if you have another, or if you have a first or second round playoff exit, what is the next step for this team? Do they change any parts of the core? Do they fire Thibodeau? I think that, for me, is the interesting part, is that what happens if they don't get to these benchmarks that Knicks fans kind of expect them to reach and get to?
Well, they may need another key player. I mean, that's, if they don't make it, if they don't get to the Eastern Conference Finals, they need a healthy Brunson to do that. And when he does come back, you got to expect him to be a little bit on the rusty side. He may need some time, to get himself into really game shape, playoff game shape, and that may not be immediate, and that could be hurting the Knickerbockers when he does come back, that he might be a little bit on the rusty side. But the Knickerbockers, they're very entertaining. They're a lot of fun to watch, but they may need another key player who is very good scoring and defending.
Now, speaking of entertaining, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, what the hell have you been doing the past 6 months or so, 6 to 12 months or so, since, what have you been doing? What have you been up to? Because I think a lot of people want to know what the heck Steve Summers has been doing in his time off now, since you've retired from a full-time and now you're a part-timer, and now we're starting the Me Here, You There podcast. What has Steve Summers been up to?
Well, you're saying a lot of people might want to know. I don't think too many people are going to care all that much with what I'm doing, since I'm not full-time on WFAN. But I do watch games all the time. I'm addicted to that, always have been since being a kid. I've been writing a book with the help of somebody that you tell the book to, and then we get that out, and a book will come out, memoirs, and it's going to be called Me Here and You There, and it'll be coming out in November. But I've been working on the book. I've been watching games, and I love watching air disasters on the Smithsonian Channel. I don't play golf, that's for sure, but the bottom line is I spend a lot of time with the games on TV. I'll go to some metropolitan games. If I can go with you, I'm going to do that. If I can go with Bob Husler, the former update guy at WFAN, I've done that. I've gone to a couple of games with Minko. Went to one game last year to see the Mets in Chicago, sitting in Mike Francesa's seats.
You were all over SNY that game. I believe you were on TV that game. I believe you were next to Bob and Minko.
And we didn't announce anything. I mean, how did they find us? But they did, and showed us up on the screen.
Yes, and
that was a little bit embarrassing, but nice of them. Francesa loved it.
Now the most interesting thing you mentioned. You're into air disasters?
Well, it is a show. It's on the Smithsonian Channel, and what it does, and it's so well produced, and it's with the actors playing pilot and first officer and passengers and maintenance people. And what it does in the first half of the 1 hour episode, it recreates an airplane accident. Sometimes people make it through the accident, and most of the time they don't. But the second half of the program, of the episode, is all about how that accident will be prevented as far as it doesn't happen again. And the National Transportation and Safety Board, they investigate the crash, they investigate the accident, and they show you to great detail how they go about finding what happened and why, and what they can do to prevent it from happening again, the accident and or the crash. And it's a fascinating show with great production and great acting, with the pilot and co-pilot and the passengers, and the whole thing is so well produced. And it does have a happy ending because they always come up with a solution to the problem and what they can do to make sure that passengers and crew members are going to be safe in the future. So the bottom line is it's an amazing program.
Fascinating stuff, Steve. And that is what you will get on the Me Here, You There podcast. Sports takes?
Yes. Well, here's the thing.
On top of?
Yes.
Airplane takes?
Yes. And, I mean, I channel surf. I watch movies. And, of course, the games are number one. And now the baseball season is here. It's the Mets, it's the Yankees, and it'll be the Knicks, it'll be the Rangers if they get into the postseason. It's a good time of year. Paulie, thanks for helping out. Thanks for being a part of this podcast. And we'll call it Steve Summers Here and You There.
Trust isn't earned, it's demanded. Whether you're a startup founder or a seasoned security professional scaling your GRC program, proving your commitment to security has never been more critical. That's where Vanta comes in. Businesses use Vanta to establish trust by automating compliance needs across over 35 frameworks like SOC 2 and ISO 27001, centralized security workflows, complete questionnaires up to 5 times faster, and proactively manage vendor risk. Vanta can help you start or scale your security program by connecting you with auditors and experts to conduct your audit and set up your security program quickly. Plus, with automation and AI, Vanta gives you time back so you can focus on building your company. Join over 9,000 companies like Atlassian, Dovetail and FireAnt who use Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. For a limited time, our audience gets $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/stereo. That's vanta.com/stereo for $1,000 off.